This delicious pumpkin bread is going to be the perfect addition to your fall baking. Come with me, let me show you how. These are the things that you're going to need. I will list the full recipe. We're going to start by adding 1 cup of pumpkin puree to your mixing bowl. This is my fresh pumpkin puree. If you haven't seen my video on that, go check it out. Fairy tale pumpkins, highly recommended for this. Next, we're going to add in 1/2 cup of neutral flavored oil. I'm just using canola oil here. Then we're going to add in 1/4 cup of milk. Full fat is preferable, and you can also use buttermilk. We're then going to add 2 whole eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, or measure with your heart. I'm also adding in a teaspoon of vanilla bean paste because I love it, but it's optional. Go ahead and add in 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a sweetener of your choice. I'm using monk fruit, but granulated sugar is perfect. I'm sorry I forgot to show you where I added that. And then 1 cup of packed brown sugar. You want to mix this well, but gently mix it because the eggs, if you beat them too hard and get them stiff, it's going to cause a stiff bread. I would recommend just mixing by hand. This will give you more of a gentle mix instead of using a hand mixer. Next up, we're going to add 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, and then 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, and 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. I'm using fresh nutmeg grated. There is a flavor difference with fresh nutmeg, so if you can find it, get it. I got mine at Whole Foods, but you can get it on Amazon, but powdered nutmeg is fine as well. Go ahead and mix that in. You're just gently folding these seasonings into the mixture. And then add in 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I like to sift mine. You don't have to. It's up to you. And then with the flour sifted in, we're going to add in 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Mix that gently. Just fold everything in until the flour is incorporated with the rest of the mixture. And once everything is mixed in and it looks like this, you're done. And then here you can use a greased or parchment lined loaf pan. It's up to you. I like the parchment paper because you can lift it after you let it sit out of the oven for 10 minutes. That way the dough doesn't overcook. And then pour in your batter gently. If you're using a parchment paper, it gets a little bit messy, so just be really careful and kind of push the parchment paper back, and eventually the batter will push the parchment paper into place. You can also try wetting the bottom of the pan just a little bit. That will keep the parchment paper sort of in place, but not 100%. So that it helps though. Smooth the batter out so everything is nice and even. And if you are using parchment paper, just cut off the excess paper when you're done. Don't do this before because you don't want to run out of room for the loaf pan. And I made a cute little mini loaf because I wanted to add in some chocolate and caramel chips to this one, just a little mini one. And here I just wadded up the parchment paper to help it kind of stay in place. Again, parchment paper is hard to work with. You can always wet the bottom of the pan, and it does help to keep things in place a bit. And when you're done pouring in your batter, go ahead and smooth it out. That way everything is nice and even. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in some sea salt caramel chips. These are so good. If you see them at Trader Joe's, snatch them up. And then also some chocolate chips. And we're just going to press those down kind of into the batter to let them sink in during baking. Now we're going to add our crumble topping. I will list that recipe in a separate video. And sprinkle generously on top of your pumpkin bread. Just a little tip when you're using and baking with crumble topping, if you're baking something that's going to take extra long, like this bread or pie or whatever it might be, cover whatever you're baking with foil. That way it keeps the crumble topping from burning. And then take it off when you're about 20 minutes away from baking being done. And then you'll have the perfect crumble topping. Make sure you preheat your oven, and then you're going to bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 50 to 60 minutes until you can poke it with a knife, fork, or toothpick and it comes out clean. Again, cover the crumble topping before you bake it and take it off before it's done. And there you have it, perfection. It is so beautiful, so delicious, warm, tastes like fall in your mouth. And this is optional. I am going to drizzle over some maple glaze just to top it off and give it an extra flavor boost. My recipe for that also will be in a video. Check that out. This will be a great addition to your brunch or just early breakfast with a cup of coffee or tea. It is so delicious, you guys. Tastes like fall in your mouth. Let me know if you make it. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, happy baking. Bye.